This is Bloomberg Businessweek with Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
Well, our next guest is the founder of a consultancy called Leave Your Mark. She's a marketer, she's an author, she's a podcaster. She's written a couple books. Her latest book is a book that I need a lot more than you need, Maddie, because you are so good with your personal brand.
Don't say that.
Maddie's got like 25,000 followers on TikTok. She's got thousands of followers
Get me out of
on
this.
Instagram too.
I'm going to let him go with this one.
And I have some followers on Instagram. I just do not lean
And
into
Twitter?
social media.
Come
Twitter,
on,
yeah.
Tim.
it's
You
just-
mean
it's
X?
just like,
You mean X?
Ugh.
Thank you.
Yeah. Whatever
She's
it's
already
called.
teaching us so much in this
Makes me
segment.
not even want to use it as much. Aliza Licht is the voice you hear. She's the author of On Brand, Shape Your Narrative, Share Your Vision, and Shift Their Perception. Aliza, good to have you with us in the Bloomberg Interactive
I am
Brokers
so happy
studio.
to be here and to dive into this conversation.
Okay, you argue in your book that first impressions are so important. What's the first thing you do when you meet someone new? You just met us moments ago. How do you present yourself?
How do I present myself? Well, the first thing I would do is probably say, hi, I'm Aliza Licht. Who are you? So I don't dive into like the elevator pitch. I actually think it's more interesting.
You ask questions.
I ask questions, and I think it's more interesting to be interested in the other person. And then they'll turn it around. But yes, I'm a founder, I'm a marketer, author, podcaster. I change it depending on the situation and the audience.
Well, I have to admit that I know who you are. I know you from DKNY PR Girl, which I know that is part of your past, and now you have this incredible media empire of your own. But I'm curious how much of the kind of principles you learned through that experience are applied to the work you do now. And then for those who may not be familiar, can you tell them about
Absolutely.
DKNY PR
So
Girl?
my former life, I was a corporate publicist for Donna Karan for 17 years. And back in the day, in 2009, when brands were first starting on Twitter, not X at the time, I created an anonymous social media personality inspired by Gossip Girl. That was
so
called
good,
DKNY PR Girl through my role in PR. And I learned one valuable lesson that still holds true today, which is don't sell anything, tell a great story. And that really was the filter that I shared the brand through. And that sort of set off, everything else. And I think, when we think about storytelling online and we think about personal branding, I became synonymous with that company. That was my identity. And in On Brand and in my previous book, Leave Your Mark, I talk about why you don't want to suffer from last name syndrome, which means you want your name to mean something on its own, because what you do today may not be what you do tomorrow. And
I'm always puzzled by people who have the name of their employer in their Twitter handle.
That's a great point. That's a great point. So it's not to say that you can't be proud of where you work. I think there's a great halo effect of leveraging where you work and vice versa, and being proud to work there. But at the same time, it's not really about where you work. The skills are yours, right? The experience is yours. You take it with you anywhere. So why not build equity in your own name?
What's your biggest piece of advice for that then, for people who are really tied to an employer right now? They're worried about the economy, but they want to make sure that they are building their own brand for the skills that they offer.
Such a great question. So in On Brand, I really tried to be equal between people who are into building social media presence like you did, and people who are like, that's not for me. Because your personal brand is not just online, right? It's in real life. It's the executive presence that you have and the weight you carry in a meeting. It's how you earn social capital. Yes, it is definitely easier if you have an online presence. I believe every single professional person should be active on LinkedIn. That is the non-negotiable platform. But everything else is really up for debate.
How do you do it in an environment where, it's like, okay, well, Twitter was so important for journalists. Now it's called X. You're like punished for not paying. The reach isn't what it was. They're deprioritizing news. It's a cesspool, blah, blah, blah. People who spent years on that platform building their followings are walking away from it. Do they want to invest in the next biggest thing, right? What could be the next big thing? Could be Threads. Who knows? Is it TikTok, where Maddie does such great work, and that takes so much time to do, Maddie. I know TikTok is crazy. Is it Instagram? Like, where do you know where to spend your energy?
So I think the answer is really simple. You don't put your eggs in one basket, right? We are renting audience.
Wow.
That is not, unless you are collecting emails, you do not own that audience. So that means at the flick of a light switch, if Instagram changes their algorithm and all of a sudden your views are different, TikTok does that, Instagram does that, we see it happen all the time, you are really at risk, especially if you're really building a business on one particular platform. So diversification, just like in stocks, right? You can't just put all your money into one company. You have to make sure you protect yourself. So, by the way, I don't think people are leaving Twitter because people have spent years building that audience, and that's not an easy thing to replicate. Yeah. And yes, you know, if you jump on a platform early, like a lot of people did with Threads, and myself included, you gain equity in that platform, and your fans, you know, it's new, it's exciting, everyone's there. That's when you test out a new platform. Even if you don't plan on staying, jump in the pool when it starts.
I mean, 3 years ago, if we were having this conversation, we'd be talking about Clubhouse. Now, if you go to Clubhouse, you're speaking to yourself.
Right. And I jumped on Clubhouse immediately.
And it was huge.
It was huge. And for people, some people launched businesses off of that. So you kind of have to use the platform as much as they use us, which they are, right? Without us, there's no content. So you have to use the platform, and you kind of have to defer to what is important to them at the time. So like when Instagram came out with Reels, people were like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to post pictures. Okay, well, fun fact, Instagram is going to deprioritize your photos because they want you to post video.
Right.
So it's not that hard to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah. In our final minute with you, I want to do a couple rapid fires because
Yes.
we don't have a lot of time. How LinkedIn, biggest mistake you see people making?
Oversharing. I'm a big, in on brand, one of my sections is called, don't bring your whole self to work.
Oh my God.
Because everyone loves to say that, and it is a Hallmark
myself.
card, okay?
Yeah.
It's a Hallmark card. Your whole self is not appropriate for work. So
Hello.
really, if you ask yourself what your goal is, what you want to be known for.
The problem, Maddie, is you live too close to work, so you don't have time
and
to
I
drop
have
off.
an insane personality.
You don't have time to drop off the rest of yourself on the way to work.
What about the biggest mistake people make in meetings?
Well, okay, camera off would be one of them. I think people have to engage and see your eye contact and that you're engaged. And the second thing is not being prepared, not coming to the table with ideas, and then also not contributing.
Yeah. All right, Aliza, we have to leave it there, but so many more tips on things to do and not do in your book, Aliza Licht, Leave Your Mark Consultancy, and of course, author of On Brand, Shape Your Narrative, Share Your Vision, Shift Their Perception. Thank you so much. This is Bloomberg.